new career, right? You get with a great company, certainly reputationally, and it sounds like you hit a deal faster than almost anybody. What was the window of time of starting?
It wasn't that fast. It was probably 6 to 8 months to find and identify, and then 6 months to close. So it closed in about a year.
Okay, but even still, us in the industry, when someone walks in my door, I don't care what their background is, whether they're starting from scratch or they're coming with a master's degree in another world. I brace them for 18 months to 2 years before you're making money. You may pick up a nickel or dime here or there, but that's very good. It's impressive.
Thank you.
We're talking about that. Good for you. Hey everyone, welcome again to the Zelnik Exchange podcast. I'm your host, Cory Zelnik, and today I have a special guest, a new friend of mine, Suzanne Schefcik, like the chef is sick. I was told to say that. Help me get through the pronunciation. Suzanne is a retail broker extraordinaire in Minneapolis, Minnesota, or maybe the whole state of Minnesota. She'll tell me all about that. I'm looking forward to hearing it. Suzanne and I met through some mutual friends, Mo Regalato and Fly Jamerson, when she was in town for the real estate gala. It was nice to meet her IRL, as we say, in real life. I follow her on Instagram. She's a great retail follow. Her handle is CRE Wannabe, and we're going to ask her why she thinks she's a wannabe, because she has a track record of performance. She is currently with Colliers, as you can see. She spent some time with Marcus and Millichap and Avis and Young, some of the big names in our world, and she does retail investment sales for retail centers and automotive properties in the Minneapolis market. She works on deals ranging from $1 million to $20 million, and she helps clients navigate everything from single-tenant net lease investments to multi-tenant shopping centers. She's a CCIM designee and an active member of CREW, ICSC, and the Retail Real Estate Network Minnesota, and also serves on a Metropolitan Council committee, staying closely connected to the growth and evolution of the region. Suzanne is known for her relationship-first approach and for bringing a practical, on-the-ground perspective to today's retail market. She's also built a strong presence in social media and connects with other real estate professionals and shares insights from the field, whether she's touring properties, attending industry events, or making deals. Outside of work, Suzanne is a busy mom of 4 who's balancing family life with a fast-paced career in commercial real estate. Suzanne Schefcik, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. I'm looking forward to this. You and I met last month, at the real estate gala and the preview breakfast prior to. It was great meeting with you, spending a little time with you, getting to know you. And I think you have a very interesting story in a part of town, quite frankly, that is not spoken about all that often. Where did it all start? How does commercial real estate get into your life? Maybe not the grade school start, but, tell me how it all starts for you.
Yeah, well, it is a bit of a long story. Quite frankly, this is probably the last place I ever thought I would be. I actually have a master's degree in anthropology, had studied sustainable development in Guatemala, living with an avocado farmer. Thought I would go into academia, but the timing wasn't right with financing and funding for the social sciences. It was around 2010. So I pivoted. I got into education and did Teach for America and worked in both education and nonprofits for the better part of a decade. Through the nonprofit that I was affiliated with, I worked my way up to the executive team and was involved in the sale of the building of the nonprofit. So that was the first entry point.
I think that's great. I think you should. I think your bio should talk about where you thought you were going first, because I think it's a great. That's more than a pivot. That's a hard left turn.
Oh, big time, big time. I mean, I was leading trips with high-level donors to Africa and the Serengeti. I was, in national parks around the country, leading trips in Costa Rica.
Sure.
Really focused on kind of accessible tourism around the world, and also giving back to our local community through day trips in the outdoors. So really great mission, loved the work I was doing, but was kind of ready to do something that was a little bit less physically exhausting.
Yeah.
And nonprofit work is, a lot of hours for not a ton of pay. So I was kind of ready to do something different.
Yeah, I think even a bumper sticker, former avocado farmer to real estate executive is a fun one. I'll leave that up to you and your marketing team.
So yeah, so
go ahead. You sell the
so
property.
I'm involved in this deal. We're convincing the neighbors on the parcel to sell to this big senior, or not senior living, student housing redevelopment. So I have no experience. I don't know how to, convince another owner of property how to sell and, the underwriting and things that go into that. But I'm learning as we go. One of the board members was a broker. So kind of started chatting with him a bit about his experience. And all of this is, late 2019, early 2020. So when COVID hits, I was sort of thinking about making a change regardless. Tourism died. My role kind of changed, and I found myself trying to figure out what's next. So kind of jumped all in. Accidentally got a job at Marks and Millichap. At the time, they were the only firm that was really hiring.
Okay.
And they do strictly investment sales. So I got into investments right away, and here we are.
Nice. And at the time that you joined Marcus, and we know their history in the industry, were you able to get on a team? What was your jump off point from someone who is clearly, intellectually smart as it relates to all the things that you studied, but having no real estate background? What was the first move when they brought you on board?
So Marcus does have a pretty interesting onboarding program. So it's a few months. You learn prospecting, cold calling, kind of just the basics of prospecting, which was great, which is what I needed.
Right.
In addition to that, I joined our local crew chapter, and every person I met, I would take them out for coffee or lunch or set up a phone call and just ask, how does construction play into this? Where does the lending component come in? Can you teach me about your job? So I went out as, vastly as I could to learn every single part of the industry as quickly as possible, in addition to working at Marcus. I had more experience than a lot of the younger brokers that were coming in. So right out of the gate, they wanted me to lead the industrial team, which I felt a bit over my skis.
All right.
And somehow the first deal I closed actually was a retail deal, and it was an automotive deal, a Tires Plus, new lease investment sale.
Okay.
And closed that maybe 3 weeks after I had my daughter. So, just.
And your daughter was that your first child? Because we talked about having.
Yes.
Okay.
So I have 3 stepsons, and that is the one that I birthed.
Okay. Good for you. Good. And so here you are. You're in new career, right? You get with a great company, certainly reputationally, and it sounds like you hit a deal faster than almost anybody. What was the window of time of starting?
It wasn't that fast. It was probably 6 to 8 months to find and identify, and then 6 months to close. So it closed in about a year.
Okay, but even still, us in the industry, when someone walks in my door, I don't care what their background is, whether they're starting from scratch or they're coming with a master's degree in another world. I brace them for 18 months to 2 years before you're making money. You may pick up a nickel or dime here or there, but that's very good. It's impressive. Given
Thank you.
You're talking about that. Good for you. So now you do retail leasing, but you talked about doing industrial. How did that play?
So, I had started in industrial. I had a 1031 buyer that was looking in the market. So I was just scouring the internal system at Marcus and Millichap to try to find something that hit the bucket. And I did, and it worked. So I represented the buyer on that deal. After that was done, it was very illuminating. I needed local mentorship. I needed somebody I could run all the stupid questions by. What am I missing in due diligence? How do I do this in real time? And I feel like that was something that was lacking in the Marcus office here anyways for myself.
Okay.
So I was sort of hot on the trail for a mentor and somebody to work with directly, which led me to my partner now. And he specialized in retail. So I pivoted from that industrial
Gotcha.
space into retail, although we still occasionally do an industrial deal, and a lot of the automotive properties, even though they're in retail corridors, operate a little bit more like industrial. So there is a good overlap in the two.
Oh, that's good. And this is are you doing leasing still, or is it more just sales part?
Trying not to do the leasing, but in retail, especially multi-tenant centers, it can
Mhm.
be a bit of a struggle to stay in front of ownership when they just have that 2,000 or 3,000 square foot space that they just need to get out from under them. So
Mhm.
we will do it for the landlord side. And when I say we at Colliers here, we do have a full leasing team as well. So we kind of play off of each other's strengths, and we'll have our leasing folks come in, but I might still hold that relationship and be reporting back to the landlord so that we can get the NOI up to be able to sell the
Right.
property.
And have you done it? Have you come across the opportunity to pre-lease something before you sell it? Has that come up, for you guys transactionally?
Yeah, we have done that. We Interestingly, we had a property teed up to sell closer to the end of last year, and then with some of the political climate here in Minneapolis, actually, we lost a handful of tenants sort of overnight. So
Yeah.
we were up, ready to list, and then back to the leasing component, and now I think we're up and ready to list again.
Got it. Got it. So that's great. So it's great that you get to utilize the tools and some of your experience. You alluded to the political. I had asked you, sort of pre-tape. Minnesota's made the news, certainly about some of the politics there. Is it affecting you often? Was it that situation for one reason only, or do you hear about it a lot in your dealings?
I would say earlier in the year, yes, it
Mhm.
certainly impacted retail here. We had a lot of closures. I think we're still seeing some of the fallout of it around restaurants. They just had such a hard time. I mean, it's so cold anyways in
Right.
Minneapolis,
Right.
January, February, that restaurants take a dip. And then with a little added pressure, it was really challenging for a lot of these small business owners to make margins.
Right.
So I think, we saw a lot of landlords trying to help out, trying to cut rent and get creative about it. We did lose some tenants just overnight that weren't
Mhm.
able to keep the lights on, things like that. I would say it feels a bit more stable now.
Mhm.
And given in general, we have some of the lower cost of living and some of the highest educational attainment in the nation.
Mhm.
Retail here is strong. People have more discretionary spend for
Right.
retail than other parts of the country, and it's a solid investment. That being said, too, vacancy is at a historic low. We're at 4%
I
vacancy
know.
across the market, which is crazy. So, yes, in the short term, it really impacted business, but I think long term, we're going to be just fine.
When things happen, right? Whether it's politics, God forbid, a COVID type situation or what have you, did opportunity arise because of it? Has any opportunity arisen because of the politics to try to spin it more positively?
Um, a little bit. I think, again, there's been a little bit of vacancy,
Right.
but there's just such pent up demand the last couple of years for both retail and investments have been a little bit slow.
Mhm.
So I think a little bit of a blip, but not holistically.
All right. So you do the Marcus thing, and then I believe you go from Marcus to Avis and Young.
Yep, to
Right.
join with my partner.
Your current partner.
Um, yes,
Right.
we're still, and then we moved to Colliers together.
Right. And so, and now is it just strip center sales, things like that? What's your day to day like?
Yeah, strip centers and automotive.
Okay.
So we've done a handful of dispositions and acquisitions for national brands, so like TBC Corporation, who owns Big O Tires, Midas, those types of brands. So whether
Hmm.
it's tire stores or repair, automotive repair, and
Okay.
collision, we've done a lot of that work. We've done some dealership work, both locally and nationally as well. And then, yes, the strip center space.
And you have buyers for that type of product, or are you selling are these, I guess I don't want to guess, old school owners that own the repair shop kind of thing, and they own their real estate, those type of sales?
Yeah, so it might not seem very sexy, but
Yeah.
automotive is a really good investment.
Okay.
With the big beautiful bill that got rolled out, you can write off 100% depreciation the first year. So from, an equity standpoint, you can gain a lot in the
Sure.
first year to 2 years in a sale. Um, that in addition to that, there's a number of owner users that are all over trying to expand, and the zoning for automotive is so incredibly limited, especially in a retail corridor
Right.
in a good suburb, that they go for, over asking. They're really quick to go.
Right. And are you, it sounds very local, but obviously there are the auto zones and people like that. Are they in your world?
Yes, very much so. So we've done some rollouts across the country
Oh,
for like Gerber Collision. We're in
mhm.
talks with a couple other
Sure.
national brands. We're looking here locally, but nationally as a Colliers team for Lucid, who's an EV brand. So yeah, very much in that space, and it's been a welcome time with interest rates being where they've been, kind of all over the
Yeah.
place the last
Yeah.
handful of years. The strip center space has been a bit on pause,
Mhm.
so I'm hoping that comes back later this year and into next year.
Do you come across, and we always hear about it when we're looking at investment properties for anybody, but clearly in the automotive world, about, brown fields. Are the automotive dirty? I guess maybe it depends, land dirty, obviously. I guess maybe it depends on whether it's the shop that does literally the grease and oil changes and things like that. Is that a problem with you?
So currently, the newer builds and the newer businesses are much cleaner
Mhm.
than in years past. If it's an old shop, and especially if they have like in-ground lifts or other components to the
Sure.
building that can be dirtier,
Mhm.
it can be a little bit of a red flag. That being said, I mean, every lender is requiring like at least a phase one,
Right.
often a phase two. So we know that right off the bat.
Right.
And owners know that too.
That's good. I mean, again, we have to do that all the time, and then, we're both probably big fans of strip mall guy, and we always see him, ranting and raving about the dry cleaners and the clean and
Oh, yeah.
the properties and things like that. Um,
That's worse. It's
yeah, yeah.
typically worse, the dry cleaners, than the automotive.
No, I feel like with respect to the automotive stuff, there's sort of a more direct path to getting in and cleaning it. Whereas I feel like the dry cleaner aspect of it it's almost an endless thing where it's so hard to get to clean, 100% clean. Again, from what I
Right.
hear, I don't play in that world. My world is primarily the leasing stuff and a very modest amount of investment sales. But yeah, the brownfields on gas. We had years ago here in New York, in the outer areas, in the outer boroughs of New York, there were a handful of independent gas stations slash body shops or what have you that went through a big conversion of sales, and a lot of that was getting the dirt clean. But like
Yep.
you said, now some of these places you can eat off the floor. They're so clean,
Absolutely.
and the environmental requirements when they go in new are such that you're building it in a much more protected manner.
Right. Right. And a lot of these sites that are so contaminated, that maybe a Superfund site, things like that, the cities know about it.
Right.
And the cities often step in and try to clean it up or offer TIF or something for somebody to incentivize them to come and clean it.
Tax,
Not always, but we have seen that happen.
yeah, tax benefits, things like that. Right.
Yep.
Come,
Yep.
come save our neighborhood. Clean this place up.
Yeah, because if it's not mitigated early, it can
Right.
get into the water, it can get into the soil, it gets into other factors, in the environment that can really hinder both a public well or something with the city, and the greater general public.
Yeah, and the liability is tremendous. It's tremendous and it's endless. The liability.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
what are you seeing in terms of any general retail commentary in your world?
Yeah, I don't know if retail's ever been hotter. It's interesting coming out of COVID, the general sentiment was retail's dead. Everyone's ordering groceries online. It's never coming back. And it couldn't be farther from what we're seeing both locally and nationally. As I mentioned, we have some of the most historic lows in vacancy we've ever
Sure.
seen. Landlords are fat and happy. Not only are rents going up year over year, They have 3 or 4 tenants fighting over space, so they're able to take, really solid deals. We've got CAM and operating expenses going up about 18% year
Right.
over year, so they're sitting pretty well right now.
Yeah.
When that shift occurs, which it will, it's cyclical.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see. I don't know timing of it. I wish I had a crystal
Yeah.
ball to
We
say,
always think
everyone's going to
that.
be flipping out this year. I have to believe it sooner than later. Keep that optimism alive. But
Right. And I'd imagine based on what you're seeing the same thing almost everybody's seeing, which is the lack of new supply, right? They're not, no one's spending money
yes,
to build.
yeah, I get calls every day from buyers, and everyone and their brother, their uncle, everyone's a buyer. There's a new fund popping up in
Right.
Philly. There's a fund popping up in California. This guy's got a fund. That guy's got a fund, and it's yes, we know that the money is there and people are interested in it, and seeing what's happened with office
Yeah.
not being as much of a sure thing. Retail just feels like a really solid investment right now. So um, hopefully the supply catches up with the demand
Sure.
because, yeah, to your point, there's just not a lot out there.
Right. So the typical, like everybody wants to buy the grocery anchored center and
Everyone.
stuff. Right. You just, you brought up an interesting point. I know it's not your world. It's not really my world, but, anecdotally, office. So there's some problems. What is it? Downtown Minneapolis? Is that where the struggle
Yep.
is?
And St. Paul.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say St. Paul was maybe hit even harder, but in both metropolitan areas, it's going to be 5-10 years before they bounce
Really?
back. We've seen some of the downtown office skyscrapers trading for pennies on the dollar, like something that sold 5 years ago, 5 to 7 years ago for 220 million, trading at 10 million.
Interesting. Interesting.
Numbers like that. So, and that obviously impacts retail because we're
Yeah.
having issues with the retailers downtown staying open. Target, their major headquarters is here in Minneapolis. They just pulled back on 1 million square feet of office downtown, which impacts all the local restaurants. It impacts, the Saks Fifth Avenue we had down there. There are other retailers that were, they had a shop next to Target headquarters trying to get their goods and services into Target
Right.
themselves. So we've seen a lot of turnover. When that ends, I'm not entirely sure. I feel like we're still trying to figure out what office looks like in the future.
Are you hearing anything about office conversion to residential? Because we hear that a lot here in New York.
There is some of that going on, but I think the buildings that can be converted have already traded hands, and most of what's left either has to be completely torn down or completely reconfigured into some different use.
Got it. And just coming back to our retail world, is the Saks that you referred to, are they keeping that one open?
No, it's closed.
It is closed. Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the pure retail is all closed, and we have a pretty intricate web in downtown Minneapolis of skyways. So they're elevated, walkways that have shops and restaurants and, goods and services. And that's been just totally decimated since COVID, mostly because the foot traffic from office just still isn't back.
Yeah, sure. No, I get that. We've seen, a big change here. We all came out of COVID similar times. We've seen a big boost. Look, and not to be a wise guy, right? We're New York, right? We get it. It's exciting. But we've seen a lot of transition to the point where, our office market is sort of oversold. If you're looking for Class A office, you can't even find a lick of space until late 28. That's how far ahead. And so,
Wow.
so our streets, we're based here in Midtown, and our streets on a daily basis. And I tell people all the time, and this is good for the retailers, we're almost back to a 5-day work week. Never mind the fact that, no one was coming back, and then it became, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then all of a sudden Monday was a work day again. And then they all like to allude to, the Europeans. I think maybe it's Norway or Sweden or whomever with the 4-day work week.
Yeah.
We're pretty crowded here on a Friday too. So it's been an interesting transition. Starting to hear that, from some of the other folks around the country in the big cities. Our pal Ken Ashley down in Atlanta, their office market's been pretty good. And I know in Houston, they've been doing it just the same. So all of those things combined, give me your thoughts on Minneapolis, retail future, world future, things like that. I don't need a crystal ball, and I'm not going to call you back in 5 years and tell you were wrong.
You can call me back in 5 years.
I'm going to call you back in 5 months and tell you to recap and see where you stand. So I won't give you a long window. But no, I'm just curious, where do you see the world going on this thing?
Yeah, I think we're figuring that out kind of as we go, right? Downtown is certainly an interesting area that's different. It's an outlier for us because the suburbs are flourishing. I mean, there's demand for housing, demand for centers, demand for, like you said, Class A office. There's just a demand for everything. Downtown, currently, there's a push from our local politics to help get retailers in there for a lesser price, to put some artists in there, create more music concepts. They're working at getting an open liquor license to make it more of an entertainment district. So there's certainly things in the works. The Timberwolves are looking for, a new stadium here, which would be great. We're in a very outdated stadium that's, in a part of town that's not surrounded by all of the retail. So to be in a bit more of a hub location, I think could help our metropolitan area. Certainly,
they have new ownership, so now they're going to want to sink money into it. I get that.
Yeah, and it's well deserved. The Timberwolves are doing pretty well, and we have the Lynx, who Hoorah WNBA are some of the best in the country.
Absolutely.
So to give them a state of the art facility is well overdue, I think. So I think, it's a tough time in Minneapolis, but we'll bounce back, and I think that it will be better and stronger than it has been.
You and I get paid to always be positive, right?
Absolutely.
Right. But do you think that you have positive sentiment there overall?
I do. Mm-hmm. I do overall. I think there's things to work through. The taxes aren't fun, if I'm being totally honest, for some small businesses and things like that. But that's the case across the country and in a lot of places. As I mentioned, we're a pretty stable market in terms of investors. We don't have the swings that you get in New York or in California or in the Sun Belt, but we're stable. So a lot of people from around the country like to do business here. They like to own stuff here because it's a stable market.
Well, that's great. That's great. Suzanne, I didn't want to, I had no intention of getting on here and thinking that it was doom and gloom, nor did I think the world was perfect, because we're all going through all of those things. But I got to tell you, you have a great story, and I think your trajectory is strong and very positive. It's a very, very, straight up. And I think it's going to be exciting for you, because it seems like you and your team are well positioned for change and positivity within the state. And I think that again, I said this on the intro, that we met, IRL. I know us social media folk like to joke about that, but it's important, right? Because we all follow each other and we get to know each other. But then when you see somebody and you get to know them in person, there's a little bit more, oomph behind it. And so I think that, this is a start for our working relationship, and we have a lot of people that we're connected to. And I'm looking forward to doing some things, as they say, down the road.
Yeah, me too.
I want to pump you up one more time. CRE Wannabe, right, on Instagram. Suzanne Schefcik on LinkedIn and all those other places. Is there anywhere else you'd like to promote yourself?
Mostly LinkedIn and Instagram. And to answer your earlier question about why I'm the CRE wannabe.
Yeah, right. Great call.
2 years ago, won the golden ticket on, a Placer webinar from the Strip Mall guy to go to the gala. Okay. And, I do the deals, but I have zero social media presence. I'm not on X or Twitter, whatever we call it, Instagram. Exactly. Like I'm not really doing anything on those platforms. And I go to the gala, and immediately I met, I think it was Tanya Regan, who's like, right now, create a handle and you're going to figure it out as we go. And I was like, okay. So in that moment, I just
she's a ball of fire.
So I just took CRE wannabe because I felt like I was a wannabe social media influencer, and it was available. So now I have it on, TikTok, Instagram, X, YouTube. I don't use all of the platforms, but I have it in case I ever want to get there.
Right.
And I figured it was catchy. If I met somebody, they could find me easily. And if somebody wants to learn about real estate, I try to give tips and tricks about, deals I'm working on or things to consider in the business.
I think that's great. So you're more than a wannabe social media person at this point, but you have a track record and
I know how to do the deals. I don't know how to do the social media.
There you go. But you have a track record on closing deals, and that's all that matters. Suzanne, I'm so glad you spent some time with me. This was a lot of fun. It was everything I anticipated it being. And I'm going to follow up with you because we're going to do it again and see how Minnesota's doing down the road.
Awesome. Would love that. Thanks so much for having me. Enjoy the Knicks.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will. Thank you so much. I'll speak to you again soon.